views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
Good evening and welcome to On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk show program on this Tuesday, September 24th. 27 days to the next general election here in Canada, where Canadians go to the polls to decide who will govern for the next 4 years. 27 days away. This evening on Point, we have joining us, coming up on the program, Mr. Jordan Boswell, the candidate for Brampton Centre running for the NDP, will join us. Stay tuned for that conversation. But right now, we have panelists joining us, Mr. Len Carby. Len, it's always good to have you. Welcome.
Good to be back, man.
All right, and we also have Mario Russo, who is here with us on the program. Mario, good to have you again.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
Time is running. We are just now about 27 days to this very important decision. You know, we don't take our democracy lightly. Democracy is something that many around the world have fought for, many around the world are still fighting for, and now here in Canada we are having a peaceful campaign season. We are debating the issues. Well, some are debating the issues, some are not debating the issues, but we'll get to that as the evening goes along. But since last we spoke, many things have happened. The biggest story, the leader for the Liberal Party of Canada, the Times magazine reported that he has been caught wearing black and brown face, and that created a firestorm in the political arena, which is Canada. International media have taken up. Len Carby, let's go to you for your reaction when you heard that the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, the Justin Trudeau, the man who is seen as the reformer, the one who is seen as the guy who's doing politics differently and changing politics, not one, not two, 3 images so far, and he has said he cannot tell how much more there is out there. Your initial reaction?
Well, whoever said that politics in Canada was boring need to take that back, because clearly we're catching up with our friends south of the border in terms of the excitement in our political system. You know, I kind of followed the news last week, and I thought the Prime Minister kind of nailed it on the head by at least stepping up. No justification, no obfuscation, but simply acknowledging this was wrong. He shouldn't have known better 20 years ago. It was wrong 20 years ago as it is wrong today. And taking responsibility for one's action, I think, is admirable. Clearly, our social consciousness around this issue has also changed, because this is not something that is new. It was not a big issue in the eyes or in the minds of the voting collectorate in 2015, when we had the election. It was before, so Justin Trudeau is not new to the public arena, but I think it says something also about the fact that we're becoming, I guess, more aware of the impact of images like these on the consciousness of those individuals in our community who are marginalized.
Well, Len Carby, he was 29 years old at the time. Does it say something about his judgment?
Yes.
As to, you know, whether this is someone with proper good judgment?
Yes, of course it does, and he said that. And I think the rest of the electorate will hold him accountable. I think his personal brand has been impacted somewhat, but I don't know that this is the issue that individuals are going to vote on. Is it affecting the polls? I think so. I think if you watch the polls over the last week, it has dropped a little bit for the Liberal support, given the lashback from this kind of
Mario, your quick take on it. What do you make of it when you heard it?
Respectfully to Len, I believe he came out with his statement and his statement was something that was designed from people within the party, and it's the right thing to say. The reality, though, is to the point of was it wrong 20 years ago? Absolutely, and it is wrong today. As a 29-year-old teacher, this is one thing. He was a person of influence. To have already done that in a setting that you're already a person that is guiding young minds, that in itself, judgment, absolutely. However, back to the point that I think you mentioned, this is not something that should be the focus of our election. I unfortunately, this is what takes up media time and so forth. Let's get to the points. Let's get to what is going to be important to us as Canadians. And unfortunately, this supersedes that a lot of the times. However, I do not want to dismiss how important it is. In particular, yourselves, people of color, right?
Let's add a little bit to that. When the Prime Minister have had 2 recent ethics violations, where the Ethics Commissioner has read that on 2 occasions he broke the rule. The Conservatives are saying he doesn't have the moral authority to lead. Are they onto something when you consider all these other factors? And had this been, let's acknowledge, had this been another politician, we saw that other candidates have had to step aside because of things that came up. Had it been another politician, Justin Trudeau would have been gone had he not been probably the leader, or some leaders would have been gone either way. I could imagine Mr. Singh would have been gone, or Mr. Scheer would have been totally destroyed. Is he getting some special pass here, Len Carby?
I don't think so. I think we have seen, even on the Conservative side, other politicians who have been guilty of some indiscretions, and the party leader has stood by and supported them through that, as long as there's acknowledgement of mistake, wrongdoing. And I think that is the most important issue, which is what makes it a non-point of discussion. When someone has acknowledged that it was wrong and they should have known better, we can decide to continue to have that conversation. But I think it's a distraction, and I think it's smart, I guess, of the Conservatives to have rolled this out conveniently at this time, because that's the nature of our politics.
Well,
right?
I'm going to take that is that if this was me putting this out,
yes,
Conservatives putting it out, they wouldn't have put it out a month before. They would have done it two weeks before.
Yes.
This was something that was brought up by Time Magazine. Who brought it out? Why? I'm in awe that it's taken 20 years to come out. The indiscretion, the problem that I have is that it's not a single indiscretion. It's multiple. That shows a character flaw or misjudgment that someone in that position should not be having or should have known better. That being said, I stand by the point that we should stick to the facts, stick to the issues. But I do agree with Jermaine that if this was someone else, they would have been, their hands would have been in the fire and raked over the coals. Right?
So there's an attempt to change the channel on this, and we have almost out of time for this quick segment here. I'm going to jump to another issue. Justin Trudeau have since issued his apology. He has now been making comments. He gave a speech probably 2 or 3 days ago where he mentioned Doug Ford 19 times in the speech. Let's look at quickly what role are these provincial leaders playing in this election. Are we trying to confuse the issues here, Mario Russo, when the leader who's running to be federal leader, federal Conservatives, is giving a speech and mentioning the provincial leader 19 times in his speech?
Well, I absolutely. I think that is an actual true platform issue practically for the Liberal Party, respectfully, is that they're bringing up the low polling numbers or the low numbers of the Premier and the provincial Conservative parties. Too many people don't understand the difference between federal and provincial politics. Completely different entities. The fact that they share the blue banner should be something that people should look and check the actual facts. If you're going to bring in party of Doug Ford factor, I would respectfully bring up the win factor. I mean, these are all things that you need to stand on the merit of your own party and what are you going to do for us today and ongoing. And respectfully to the Liberal Party leading today, they need to stand on what they've done for us over these last 4 years.
Yes,
Well, that's
that's politics. But the truth is, we are guilty of the very same thing. We have started off the show talking about the issue.
Absolutely.
But we are saying
Yes.
that we want to talk about the issues. But we're not talking about the issues. Because the truth is, as much as we say we don't like that kind of divisive politics, it actually changes the needle. And people actually seem to make decisions based on it.
There's an emotional response. Absolutely.
So as much as we are saying it is not the important issue, it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to talk about it. And I think the Prime Minister needs to take the opportunity to have a bigger dialogue about the impact of racial injustices to minority groups in our country. I think this was the opportunity that he had to do that, and I hope he doesn't let the opportunity pass. It's still only a week out. Whether he wants to stay on that diversity campaign or keep talking about those issues, I think it's an important issue to continue to talk about.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. This is On Point, where we discuss the issues important to Canadians. We take our first break. When we come back, we're joined by the NDP candidate in Brampton Centre, Mr. Jordan Boswell. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Hi, my name is Rosa. I'm here because we're volunteers for the Federal Conservative Party of Canada for the MP candidate, Muriel Topwell. So we really like him. He's very carefree as well. He's doing things that he doesn't have to, like the way he treats us. It's kind of like we're related to him. So I always feel at home here with all my friends.
And I can't be happier to be here to support such a good friend, a good advocate for the community, and someone that we know will take Brampton West all the way to Parliament in Ottawa. For years now, we've seen a government that's neglected the interests of Canadians. We need a government that will support hard-working Canadians, make life easier, help us move forward. And so we need strong advocates like Muriel, my good friend, who are going to be accessible, who are going to be able to, who we are all going to be able to speak to, raise our concerns, and who we can be confident in. That's someone who can be raising our voice in Brampton. And let's make sure that
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
My name is Trish Curling, and I am an online coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher, and your new host of Shaping Life, which is all about understanding that we have the ability and the control to take charge of our health and wellness. But we can't do it alone, and I can't wait to sit down with the best in the industry. Please tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. live here on the TCN Network.
Welcome back to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program broadcasting live from the beautiful flower city of Brampton. We have now joining us Mr. Jordan Boswell, who is the NDP candidate running in Brampton Centre. Jordan, welcome to On Point.
Thank you for having me, Jermaine.
All right, so you are the candidate, as we run the time here, you are the candidate running to be the next Member of Parliament in Brampton Centre against a gentleman, the Liberals, who currently control the seat. Before we get into the politics, Jordan, tell us a bit about your background, a bit about yourself. Who is Jordan Boswell?
Sure. So I'll say I was born and raised here in Brampton, grew up in our community, went to school here, worked my first job at Bramley City Centre. So we know the community
We know that mall, yeah?
We do know that mall. And then got involved in politics with Jagmeet Singh as a volunteer when he was an MPP here in Ontario. But then worked on his leadership campaign and worked for him in the leader's office in Ottawa. Got to travel across the country with Jagmeet and see firsthand how he does politics and how he connects with people.
Okay, so what's that inspiration then for you to get involved? I mean, Jagmeet is a popular guy here in Brampton. Would have accomplished, would have basically reach out to a number of young people. So, you know, what was it about the politics that interests you?
Yeah, I think just the idea of helping people, and why I decided to run in this election is I think our community deserves a stronger voice. We'll remind folks that we elected 5 Liberal members in the last election, so we should have had the strongest voice in the House of Commons. But I think a lot of people are feeling like we've been let down. Certainly when I'm going door to door, there's this sense that Brampton's been neglected, we've been left behind. And I think I have something more to offer, a different kind of representation that puts people first.
Let's talk about that for a little bit. You know, the kind of representation that you hope to offer in Brampton. You know, what are some of those main things that you want to see done in Brampton that should you become the Member of Parliament in Brampton Centre that you want to accomplish? Why should they be electing you?
Well, Jermaine, the big one is healthcare. People would know on the second day of the election, Jagmeet Singh was in Brampton to announce funding for a second hospital. I think a city as large as ours, almost 650,000 people, is long overdue for a second hospital. The healthcare crisis is something that we're taking seriously. It's something the 5 Liberals we elected 4 years ago haven't acted on, but it's something that Jagmeet and our team is really committed to pushing forward.
So let's talk about that a little, because we saw Jagmeet in Brampton making that healthcare announcement to commit to building a second hospital in Brampton. The challenge that there are some hot button issues in Brampton. Once you talk about them, it evokes a kind of response in Bramptonians. But healthcare is really the provincial responsibility. So, you know, coming in as the feds, promising the people of Brampton a second hospital, how do you balance both? Because those who are looking to say, well, this is not your responsibility. This is not, how do we get that? Because we need the province buy-in for that to be done.
So healthcare is absolutely a provincial jurisdiction. But I think what we're saying is we're willing to work with the province. I don't think anybody from our team, from the NDP, is saying that it'll be easy. We've seen what the Conservatives in Ontario have done, cut after cut after cut, to services like healthcare. But what we're saying is we're willing to step up. We're willing to have those conversations, and we're willing to fight for something that our community needs. The healthcare crisis can't be ignored here in Brampton. I've sat at Brampton Civic in Emerge in the wait lines. I think our city is long overdue, and that's something that we're going to fight for, working alongside the province.
Okay, all right, so healthcare is one thing. Any other issue that is important in Brampton? We see, for example, gun violence being a big issue in Brampton. I mean, do you have any plans for that? You know, how do you help to keep Bramptonians safe? Anything along that line?
So community safety is another big thing that comes up. But I think we need to be doing more in investing in services. As somebody that was born and raised here, have grown up, have seen how the issue has become more prevalent. I think it's obvious that the Band-Aid solutions that our governments and our local representatives have been using aren't working. This patchwork approach where we're not targeting the root causes of the problem. We need to be investing in services that support people. I've seen the decline after cuts, so we need to get back into doing that and investing in services that people need.
Jordan, you're a young guy, you know, probably one of the youngest persons we have running in this campaign in the city of Brampton, that, for example, or even in the Peel region. Housing is out of the reach of many young people in Brampton. I'm sure you might hear some of that as you knock on your doors. You know, what can those younger people out there watching expect from a Jordan Boswell should you become Member of Parliament in terms of housing? How would you push to make housing more affordable for them?
So aside from healthcare, housing is the largest thing, especially in Brampton Centre. But we have a plan to build 500,000 units of affordable housing across the country, cooperative housing, non-market housing, to make it easier for first-time home buyers. Because you're right, for young people, owning a home is so far out of reach, but renting, Jermaine, renting is becoming harder and harder. It's crazy. So we have a plan to act on it. Contrasting to the Liberals, who 2 years ago acknowledged that Canada has a housing crisis, but have withheld funding until after the election. So what we're saying is it's unfortunate for a government and for our representatives to declare something a crisis, but then withhold funding. What we're saying is we need to get shovels in the ground. We have a plan to build 500,000 units of affordable housing so that young people, but also everyone in our community, can afford a place to call home.
Okay. Let's talk about a few issues. One, let's just see where you are on these issues. Climate change. Do you believe in climate change?
I absolutely believe in climate change. Absolutely believe in climate change. And to be frank with you, Jermaine, I think folks that are pushing back are doing us a disservice to our country. I think the science is there. As a young person who is living with the repercussions of climate change, we need to act. It used to be something that was an issue for future generations, but more and more we're seeing it's something that our generation is facing. And I think young people have really been leading the charge to fight and combat climate change.
Help us understand your your approach to deal with climate change. You know, we hear the Liberals, they have imposed the carbon tax, and that's what they're pushing to kind of deal with the climate change. We hear the Conservatives, on the other hand, is saying this carbon tax is not the only way to deal with climate change, and they are looking at a Green New Deal to kind of invest in green technology. Where's the NDP on how we combat climate change, and what do we need to do to reduce our emissions?
Sure. So we're very proud of the plan that our party has put forward. It's a plan that's robust, tackling the climate crisis, but also one that's mindful of workers. Our plan will create 300,000 new jobs by investing in green technology and green infrastructure. Because we believe it's important to not only get to a carbon-free or less carbon economy, which is good for the environment, but also good for workers. It's not the fault of an oil worker or someone working in the industry that they're in a sector that is being phased out. So we need to be working alongside labor and making sure that those jobs are there. But in terms of the carbon tax, the Liberals have let the biggest polluters off the hook with their tax. And I think that's something that our party's been very clear in calling out. It's a plan that goes after everyday Canadians, but allows the biggest polluters, the biggest corporate polluters off the hook. So we would work towards a more fair carbon tax that will reduce emissions, but also level the playing field so that everyday people aren't bearing the brunt of that.
Let's talk about the politics here a bit, Jordan.
Sure.
I've talked to a few young people in Brampton in preparation for the show. For example, I was talking to someone this morning, and she was asking me, you know, who do I have coming on? And I say, okay, I have an NDP candidate coming on. So I think they're watching.
Sure.
But one of the questions that some of the young people have is the politics of it.
Totally.
You know, a number of them talk about strategic voting.
Yeah.
You know, they want to vote. Some of them are NDPers in thinking. But still they tend to vote Liberal because they don't think that your party will win the next election.
Sure.
You know, for example, we have the New Brunswick situation where the leader hasn't gone to New Brunswick since he got elected. He went there this morning, I was it yesterday, to make an announcement and try to rectify that situation.
And announce a star candidate in New Brunswick.
Put in some good candidates in New Brunswick. But to those who are members of your party, NDPers who want to but they are not so sure whether you will win or they'll be losing their votes, what do you say to those people?
Sure. So as a New Democrat, strategic voting is something that often comes up. But I think what's important for people to know is that we're in it for them. Yeah. The NDP is in it for them. We, for far too long, have been choosing between a red door and a blue door, and have seen the outcomes. These are parties and representatives that have favored large corporations, the well-connected, while the rest of us, Jermaine, are falling further and further behind. And in a community like Brampton, where I can remember in 2015, a lot of people talked about voting strategically, and it resulted in 5 Liberal MPs. Yeah. So from a strategic vote sense, I guess that could be considered a win. But 4 years later, what have we really gotten for that? Like I said off the top, Brampton should have had the strongest voice in the House of Commons with 5 government MPs. We haven't received our fair share of infrastructure. We haven't seen tangible action on the housing crisis. We haven't seen action on healthcare in our city. Job creation in our city has been stagnant. So I think what a lot of people need to look at is who's in it for you? Who's in it for you? Because the Liberals and Conservatives have a track record, at least in Brampton, where they haven't been. So what I am hoping to offer to people, and what our team of candidates across Brampton is offering, is a different type of representation that puts people first.
So we're almost out of time. One of the things that we have heard, we had another candidate who was also running in the first time on the show a few weeks ago. One of the things that he talked about was being available and being accessible to the people after you become a member of parliament. He accused, there's a different writing, but he accuses his person who's challenging of being a part-time MP rather than a full-time public servant. Will the people be able to reach you once you are elected?
Absolutely, and shows like this are a good way to connect with people. But I think part of the problem is we elect representatives, they go to Ottawa and they forget who sent them there. I am invested in this community. I have grown up here. I have friends here. I have family here. And I think that Brampton deserves better, which is a big reason why I ran. But absolutely, we elect people, they go to Ottawa, and then they come back around in 4 years when they're asking for our votes. And I think what a lot of people are looking for is somebody who's going to step up to the plate and deliver on what our community needs. And that's something that I'm committing to, and I'm hoping people will see that.
Well, we're out of time, but if I just get one more minute from my producer here, how can the people reach you? If you have how can they reach you now if they want to support your campaign, they want to hear more about your platform? How can, so got the camera there, I think we're on camera too. Let the people know how they can reach you, how they can contribute or support your campaign, or get to ask further questions if they want.
Sure. So folks can visit our website, jordanboswell.ndp.ca. You can sign up to take a lawn sign. You can sign up to volunteer. You can sign up to make a contribution to our campaign. But you can also ask questions. There's a link to our campaign email, which is jordan.boswell@ndp.ca. I'm always happy to chat with folks. I know our team is working very hard across all 5 ridings in Brampton. So even if you don't live in Brampton Centre, I would strongly urge you to check out your local NDP candidate. We're a young team, we're a diverse team, and we're really looking forward to putting Brampton back on the map.
All right, Jordan, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Jermaine.
Pleasure chatting with you. We wish you best luck, best wishes for the campaign season. Stay with us. When we come back, we continue the conversation with 27 days to go to the general election. Thank you. Stay tuned. This is On Point.
So many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
the reason why you don't see that anymore is because
The ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Friends, welcome back to On Point. Thank you for staying with us. We are here continuing the conversation with 27 days to go until we go to the general election. Just had a very interesting chat there with Jordan Boswell, who is running here in the city of Brampton, in Brampton Center, going up against the Liberal candidate, Liberal MP, Mr. Ramesh Changa. Mario, let's start off with you. Your impressions, just talking with Jordan in terms of what he had to say, the issues, the quality of the candidate. Your initial impressions.
My impressions were that Jordan is a well-educated, well-spoken young man. I think he does a service to his community by running. I think he's exactly what our country needs, is people getting engaged. I think he said a lot of the right things. I'm still personally skeptical of how his party will achieve those goals. That being said, in particular when speaking to the carbon tax, I think that's one of the things that people need to be well educated on, is the carbon tax that the Liberals put forward truly is a tax to the middle class, as opposed to allowing the large polluters to go on a pass. So that's one thing that I liked hearing, and the fact that he's very knowledgeable on a lot of the issues locally.
Len Carby, your impressions, as well as Mario mentioned the carbon tax for the NDP. I'm still a little bit unclear as to exactly, is that they will continue the same path for the carbon tax? Is that they will put a price or a tax on those larger emitters? What are your initial impressions, and then we talk about this carbon tax issue with that?
Yeah, initial impressions of Jordan. I've had the pleasure of meeting him before when he was working with Jagmeet.
Okay.
So I know he knows his issues. Very sharp young man. I'm always encouraged when I see young people getting into politics and willing to take the brunt of public criticism and all of it that goes with it, with the desire for public service. And so I certainly admire his desire to lead. Again, he has chosen to work through the NDP, and talking about some of the issues there. Good, admirable ideas, but how are these going to be implemented? One of the things that we talked a lot about was another hospital for Brampton, but that really is a provincial issue again. And so how does that someone running federally make that happen? Is going to be left to be seen.
So Mario, that's a hot button issue here in the city of Brampton. Everybody identifies with it. Healthcare is a big issue, a big concern. The leader himself of the party came to Brampton to make that announcement. Really, we all want the hospital, but was there more politics than substance to the announcement?
Well, I agree with Len wholeheartedly. It's something that anyone who's educated on the issues is going to say a third hospital, and it is truly needed. And so if they have ideas of how they will fund or work with the province, let me hear that. It's a soundbite, I believe, to just have people, that emotional voter, come out, and maybe there is some substance to it. The reality is it's difficult. The free dental care. Listen, there's something that you've already caught my ear by saying free dental care. So it's one of those things that they may have, and I do believe that in their platform they have. I haven't read it line by line, but again, I always sit back very skeptical of how you're going to accomplish some of these things that are difficult when you're talking about on a national scale.
Well, the Liberals is in tow with them though, Len, because the Liberals are, they've had a subcommittee working to try and develop like a pharma care program to make sure that we can add to our healthcare system. So all the parties are talking about healthcare. Where does the voter go though? How do we make a decision based on what all three parties are saying about healthcare? Everybody's saying they're investing in healthcare.
Yes, and it's topical at this moment. So just like wait times is topical. A few years ago, when the Conservatives came in, they had actually put $700 million into it, created a provincial plan, and then walked away. Nothing was done, and here we are. That was all the way back in 2006. Here we are, these many years later, and wait times is still a challenge. So of course it is going to come back to the table. I think it's an important issue because all Canadians are consider their health as an important part of the federal responsibility, but how our politics is and governance is organized is another question. So I can understand the political promises.
Let's talk about housing for a minute.
Yes.
Let's talk housing for a minute. He mentioned that the NDP's plan, they want to build 500,000 units of affordable, Mario up your streak here, affordable housing units across the country, not only here in Brampton. The Conservatives came up with a plan this week, announcing a 4-point plan to deal with housing. One, they say they want to extend mortgages, amortization for mortgages from 25 years to 30 years, so that people they want to look at this dreaded stress test, and everybody talk about the stress test once they're getting into homes. They want to look at revising that as well as eliminating it for individuals who are doing mortgage renewals. They want to take a look into the role that money laundering is playing in politics, and they want to make surplus real estate available for housing development. The Liberals, on the other hand, made some recent announcements surrounding housing. They want to at least give first-time home buyers access to a 10% of the purchase price. They kind of help first-time home buyers get into home. Who is winning the battle over housing here?
Okay, so you gave a mouthful, Jermaine. The reality is this: is that I think back to the healthcare issue. It's unfortunately the soundbite we're hearing. No one's going to say that we don't want or need affordable housing. The reality, though, is similar to even the crime aspect that we spoke about last week, is that you need to speak to the federal issues and how you're going to deal to the federal aspect. Then give me a reason or give me an understanding how you're going to deal with the other aspects of government that govern that. Provincially, that's where a lot of the affordable housing comes from. Then that's downloaded to our region, and the region is then where the service comes from. So how are we going to work and give that pathway that is going to be accomplished? So giving me the fact that you're going to build that affordable housing, again, skeptical. How are you going to do that when you're dealing with 3 different tiers of government? So you may have all the best intentions, but you need to work with the other tiers of government to do so.
Len?
Yes.
Housing war?
What I think needs to happen in some of these campaign issues is that there needs to be more specifics. If there's an expected budgeted amount, state that. Give people something enough to chew on rather than just the sound bites. And I think that's where it becomes a little tiresome for those of us who pay attention a little bit more. It's like, okay, I hear you, but so what?
And I'm going to defend sometimes, I'm going to use the political answer, is it's very difficult to give a numeric component when you're not in power and you don't know what mess you may inherit after. So these are difficulties in, you don't want to put your foot in your mouth and say, I'm going to do X, when you don't know if you're going to be able to provide Y. So I give them a little bit of pass on that, but the specifics is where I agree with you, Len, is that you need to give me something more than I'm going to give you a 3rd hospital and I'm going to give you affordable housing. Great ideas. Fundamentally, I think the root of the NDP party has some great concepts. I just, again, wrestle with how are you going to deliver it.
Right.
The final thing that he mentioned there is about, for example, for those in Brampton who is trying to get, Bramptonians getting their fair share, fair representation. He mentioned 5 Liberal MPs, in terms of having a stronger voice for Brampton. And that's something that has come throughout the municipal campaign. But how do you get that stronger voice, though? I mean, what are residents to make of this?
Len, you first.
Well, I think there's a part for residents to play in being more engaged with their local representatives, because what you don't want is when you elect these MPs, they go off to Ottawa, and yes, they care about the national issues because that's why they're elected. However, there needs to be some care and concern around what's happening locally. This show is a Brampton show, and we tend to focus a lot on the issues which are important to Bramptonians. So, there are lots of initiatives that local individuals are working on that needs the attention of our MPs to be able to ensure that those projects get implemented. Yeah. I see, for example, when the Liberals came, they made an announcement of, it was a mental health funding program. That was announced right here in Brampton, for a young person who actually came, developed a great program, submitted a proposal, got it funded, and the announcement was made right here. That's what I want to see. I want to see how, when the announcements are made in Ottawa in the budget around funding for different parts of the community and around different issues, how does that translate down on the ground to programs which are actually impacting people's lives?
Stay with us. When we come back from the break, we continue to look at the issues of importance to Canadians as with 27 days before the next general election. Stay tuned. This is On Point.
Here to be here to support such a good friend, a good advocate for the community, and someone that we know will take Brampton West all the way to Parliament in Ottawa. For years now, we've seen a government that's neglected the interests of Canadians. We need a government that will support hard-working Canadians, make life easier, help us move forward. And so we need strong advocates like Russio, my good friend, who are going to be accessible, who are going to be able to, who we are all going to be able to speak to, raise our concerns, and who we can be confident in. That's someone who can be raising our voice in Brampton. And let's make sure that come October, Russio is the MP for Brampton West. And I can't be happier to be here to support such a good friend, a good advocate for the community, and someone that we know will take Brampton West all the way to Parliament in Ottawa. For years now, we've seen a government that's neglected the interests of Canadians. We need a government that will support hard-working Canadians, make life easier, help us move forward. And so we need strong advocates like Russio, my good friend, who are going to be accessible, who are going to be able to, who we are all going to be able to speak to, raise our concerns, and who we can be confident in. That's someone who can be raising our voice in Brampton. And let's make sure that come October, Russio is the MP for Brampton West.
Thank you for staying with us. This is On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program, where we discuss the issues importance to you as Canadians. 27 days to go. Have you decided who you'll be voting for? Are you waiting for more information? Who do you want to see govern us for the next 4 years? These are important issues, important topics, and we're hoping that we will help to shed some light on the issues for you as you make your choice in this election. Len Carby, who are you voting for?
I never declare my vote until I get in that ballot.
Absolutely.
So a vote is between me and my maker. There are candidates that I like. I've always been one who vote based on the issues, and so in different elections, my vote has gone to different parties. It has gone based on candidate. It has gone based on issues. So I'm not committed to always. I would say in this particular election, I like what I've seen of the Liberal Party and what it has done in our community, especially in our Black community. I can say that as someone who is very engaged in our Black community and dealing with advocacy. In our Black community, I believe that the support for our community has been strong in the last 4 years, and so I pay attention to those issues rather than the personality.
Yeah. Let's Mario.
I agree to the aspect of, and I've mentioned this before. The reality is, we need to take into account the party and the platform and their policies, but then we really need to understand and get to know our candidates, because they are the people that will be representing us at Parliament, and we need in Ottawa, and we need to understand or feel comfortable that they're going to be being our voice. And so that's why I think that integration between party and candidate need to be included.
Let's go to some of the other things. There's a debate that should have come up. The mock debate just announced today that they are cancelling their planned international debate because Mr. Trudeau has said that he would not attend the debate. There are a number of things that are happening for Canada, for Canadians on the global front. We still have some Canadians who are stuck in China. We still have situation in Venezuela, which is escalating. We still have our trade relationship with the US and stuff like that. How important it is for the leaders to be attending debates so that Canadians can hear their stance on issues. And what do you make of the Prime Minister deciding, or the leader of the Liberal Party deciding that he's not attending this monk foreign policy debate?
Well, I think we've spoken about this 1 or 2 shows ago. I think the fact that you miss one debate perhaps is allowable. You're busy running around, you're doing so.
The second debate.
When you start becoming, it becomes a pattern, it becomes a little bit more, there's a logarithmic scale perhaps, that it becomes more not acceptable. That's for my, this is strategic. I'm going to be frank with it, is that there's a strategic aspect. As a Prime Minister, you're on the hot seat, you don't want to be grilled. That's the way I look at it, is unfortunately, and I think that's, a sad thing. I think he should be standing up. Len spoke to him after he's been, this, let's call it scandal, came out. He spoke to it. Whether you agree or disagree with it, you at least spoke to it. You're going to be missing these debates. You don't give people the opportunity to hear what you have to say.
So it's a question of evaluating how many debates there are on the schedule, and you can say you're missing these, but how many are there that you're doing?
Sure.
And I think that's where we have to weigh the scale, because at the end of the day, you're running a campaign, but he's still Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
He's running a country. So there's the question of governance, while at the same time of a campaign.
But is it really governance, though, why he's missing these these debates? Because these are important issues. When he was elected, he declared that Canada is back and that he will take a leadership on the world stage. Now, this is an international debate. We're going to deal with international issues, where we stand with our international partners. I think it's one of the ones you really want to be at, Len. And then these debates are taken at night. He's not sitting in the PM's office, at nights running governance issues.
It's interesting. We can sit here and know what the Prime Minister's schedule looks like.
It's posted.
And determine which one is going to be important. Of course, this is all political fodder. We can have those conversations, and everyone is entitled to a position on whether they think, this one is important versus the other. If he misses another one, the other person is going to say, it wasn't important. If he goes to another one, people are open to their speculations around whether or not it's a dodge, or it is a strategic decision, or it's just a time commitment. Everyone is entitled to that opinion. I think that's what political seasons allow us to.
Let's jump. We haven't talked time. Let's jump to the seniors. Seniors are a large part of our country. Seniors, it said, is the most reliable voting bloc. They go out, they vote, they participate, while young people might look for a particular issue to go out and vote on. The seniors are reliable. So we find out all the parties are making their play for the seniors. The Liberals are promising to make life more affordable, much easier for seniors. The Conservatives the same, the NDP the same. How do seniors navigate the space?
So again, I'm going to use absolutely the most important segment, or one of the most important segments of our community. They've put the time, they've built our country, they should be taken care of. I really appreciate the Conservatives coming out and supporting our veterans. These are all important factors. The reality is follow through with what you're going to do, and just I don't want to hear the lip service. Is that really, again, when you're in power, you're going to be grilled. From my perspective, what have the Liberals done for the seniors over the last 4 years? They have to stand behind that. The Conservatives are going to have to come out with their policies that people believe and can stand behind. So too will the NDP and so forth. So it really is me as a Canadian, me as someone who has a mother who's senior, and that's really, when I go to doors helping certain candidates and there's a senior at the door, you know what they ask me? What are you going to do for me? And really, I think back to the point of a candidate is that candidate needs to go loudly to their party and say, we need to stand up and we need to actually implement whatever we're saying we're going to do. Right.
Then our seniors, we ran in the municipal campaign, and one of the things, I met many seniors who said, they're leaving Brampton, cost of living is just too high. Basically both parties are saying a similar thing. The Liberals, Conservative, both of them are promising to boost the age credits by about $1,000 per year. But what do seniors make of it? As they, most of the seniors are on fixed incomes. Pension incomes, you're a retirement planner, you're a retirement person, how difficult is this for seniors out there, and should the leaders be taking them seriously and not just looking at them for the votes?
Absolutely. I, as someone who's, do this for a living, where I sit with individuals and plan out their retirement and make, financial decisions about how they're going to be able to survive. We're living longer in Canada. Yeah. Individuals retire at 65 and life expectancy is 90. That's a lot of years of money that is needed to support. And seniors are struggling, not fixed income. And so I think they are an important part of the demographic. With our baby boom population getting older and older, you're finding that the seniors population also, is larger than before. Because that baby boom segment is just kind of the largest segment of the population moving into retirement, accessing the savings that they have put aside for all those years. So I think they're a very important demographic for any political party to consider. The seniors in how are they going to maintain their quality of life into their retirement. So that's a good one. We are about to wrap up. We have a minute left. We talked earlier on previous shows about the different taglines. Are they gaining more traction? Jordan, when he was here, mentioned a lot that we're in it for you. This is the NDP slogan, in it for you. The Conservatives are saying it's time for you to get ahead. The Liberals are saying let us move forward. Any of these taglines really resonating as we wind down the last couple seconds here?
Again, I mentioned this before. I'm not a big fan of taglines. Those are just marketing issues. What I enjoyed, or really one thing that Jordan said about we elected 5 Liberal MPs. We were expecting to have more for Brampton. That's what we're going to have to assess. Is what Brampton has received enough? And that's going to be something that the voters are going to have to decide.
Then last comes to you.
Well, certainly. Forward is a nice way to position coming out of 4 years, and if residents and people, Canadians are going to have to decide if they are pleased with what they have seen over the last 4 years. And my hope really is that the happenings of last week will be an important inflection point of consideration. People will think about the implications of diversity and all of that. But then get back to the real issues that are going to make a difference in their, their wallets, in their pocketbooks. How are people going to survive, in the next 4 years, in the new season, under whichever party wins? What are those issues that are going to be most important? And I hope that individuals will make decisions based on that, and not just on, personality and the little political taglines that are happening right now.
When next we join you, it will be about 20 days to the election day. We will have 2 more candidates who are running here in the city to talk with us, to ask for your vote or to give you reasons why you should vote for them. This has been On Point. Thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you for watching. Until next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. when we bring you more issues to consider as you choose in the 43rd general election. Thank you. Stay tuned. See you next week.